like adaptability. So like it still kind of surprises me how we as humans are so adaptable. We can adapt to almost anything, almost any climate, like, any place that we live, the people that we're around, we can adapt to almost anything. But we're so slow. We're so
Hmm.
slow to change. We're so slow to adapt. And I feel
Yeah.
like if more people did, if more people understood that life is change, life is adaptability, life
Hmm.
is always, it's not stagnant. It doesn't,
Hmm.
like, maybe back in
Oh,
like
you
the
froze up.
1950s when everybody
Yeah.
was living in the same neighborhood, you knew your, neighbor and blah, blah, blah. It's not like that anymore. Everything's changing constantly. So you need to change with it or you're going to be left behind. And because of that, you're going to have this fear. And that fear is going
Hmm.
to try that fear is going to drive your decisions,
Yeah.
you know?
And that fear comes. Like, even think about the change in those like 50s neighborhoods. Now you have black people. And like they're
Right.
scared about them, right? Because like even I was reading this law back in April 1st, 1807, I think it was, or 1809. The state of Ohio passed a law saying if you're a black person, you can't move to Ohio. If you do, you have to pay the clerks, the city clerk or the state clerks, $500 in the 1800s. And not only do you have to pay the $500, you have to get two white people who live in Ohio already to sponsor you. Not sponsor you financially, just say, yeah, he's a good guy. Just so you can live there. And like, and then again, it's crazy how that law is played out. But now we have change. Now you could live wherever you want. We said redlining. Now you could go to school wherever you want. Now we have private schools where they're very expensive and the whole system of education is corrupt.
Yeah,
But now
redistricting, busing,
like
all that kind of stuff.
we're still changing. But again, and it goes back to the concept of that change. Yes, it's slow to change. Yes, people are avoided of change. Why? Because they don't see a need to change. Why
Hmm.
should I change my way of life to appease you, right? Why should I have to change for your comfortability? I feel comfortable. I like carrying my gun. I feel safe with this. Can you not carry that? No, I don't feel safe without it. I'm not gonna do something out of my habit that I've developed, not born with, developed for your comfortability. And then that gets into the argument of cancel culture and those other stuff that and it can expand from there. So we already have this system in place where people feel comfortable carrying these weapons. We have people who feel comfortable carrying these massive freaking guns and feel naked without them. But they're not willing to let those go for other people to feel safe. And their arguments are, I have to defend my home. From what? You bought a home in a neighborhood where it's not safe, you know? Okay, why isn't this neighborhood safe? Oh, because of drugs. Okay, cool, let's tackle drugs. Now you see how you're diving into the actual issues instead of the bandages that are bullets. You know what I
Right.
mean?
I think that's a good way to look at it. Like
Yeah,
bullets
because we
are
know
bandages.
yeah,
They
yeah. I want to shout out bandages, but um,
so I wanted to I wonder if you saw the thing about the the adults who are throwing, because you're close to the border, the
mhm,
adults who are throwing the infants over the wall, um,
mhm.
and you are the child of immigrants.
I am,
I
yeah.
I met your mom, um, God rest her soul, and I met your stepdad, um, and what I've been seeing this a lot about, how bad like parents must be to send their kid or send somebody they love over the wall just to the unknown.
Mhm.
What would you say to somebody who would say that, immigrants who come illegally, they're bad parents or they're not thinking of the safety of their kid? What would you say about that?
Mm. This is a topic we're going to talk about in 2 weeks too. So if you're interested in this and you watch this, come back in 2 weeks. We're going to talk about it again. But nonetheless, to answer that question, How many movies, TV shows, cartoons, anything you could think about in media where the rhetoric is, I will do anything for my child. That's the rationale. So, like, a quick example, Justin, is the reason I'm living the life I'm living now, right? Working with the National Park Service. A lot of it came down to two decisions, actually. More decisions that I keep looking back at it. Um, One summer, I was doing nothing all summer, and a teacher called my house and said, "Hey, we're having this field trip. Do you want to go?" And my question was, "How much?" And she's like, "Oh no, it's free." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool, 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 cool. Where are we going? What is this for?" And then all the like the niceties. And when mom came home, "Hey mom, there's a field trip happening in a couple of days. Can I go? Here's what we're going to be doing. Here's where we're going to be going. It's going to be amazing. It's great for my scholarship. Blah 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 blah." And she asked, "How much?" I'm like, "Oh no, it's free." I'm like, "Okay, you can go." Here are all the benefits for me going. One question: how much? Right now, that trip then led me to another trip, which would not take me to upstate New York, which was like a bus ride, and I'm back the same day. This next trip was to Milwaukee for like 3 or 4 days, right? My school already heard about it and basically asked me to get permission from my parents so I can go. And they laid it out again. Here's all the benefits. It can lead to job opportunities and internships and all this other stuff and a grade on your resume, blah, 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 blah. And I go to my mom, lay it all out. You know, even when I remember too, I cleaned the entire house. I was like getting ready like to tell her about this so she could say yes. And then I laid it all out, grade on my scholarships. I could get a job. I could do this. I could do that. It's going to get amazing. I get to go out and see the world. Um, how much? Oh, it's free. Go. Because I want my child to have this opportunity that I didn't, right? And like for example, I remember I got that letter in the mail, like people to people. Um, and I remember I came home because I think I was with my stepdad, like doing something with my stepdad. And I came home and my brother's like, "You're going to Australia, mate?" And I'm like, "What?" Like, and then I read the paper, like, "Oh my God, this is amazing." And I'm excited. My mom's excited. Like, "Oh, this is such a great opportunity." And we go down to the city and we go to this conference. She has her little notepad. She's taking all the notes and like the things she needs. Like, I got to get my passport and do this and do that. And like $26,000. I saw the notepad go away. And I saw her just kind of politely sit there and smile and look at me and go and look back at the screen. And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, you're not going to that." Because I can't do that opportunity for you. I can't get you there, right? Because I don't have the capability of doing so. Versus the border, I can walk you there. I can carry you there. I can get you there. But once I leave you here, you're gonna have a better life. That's
Or
sacrifice.
that is the hope, at least, right? That is the
Yeah,
dream.
yeah. And even with that, we're gonna again talk about this more like in probably 2 weeks or so. Um, think about that sacrifice. Would you not do anything for your child? Would you not do anything to protect your child? Isn't that why you buy a gun?
Right. Yeah. Like
Like, think about that.
that's that's the thing that I'm not sure that people that American families understand that have, a job, have health care, have blah blah blah. They would do anything for their kid, but they see these other actions that they can't relate to, right? American families can't relate to, oh, I'm going to walk my kid to the Canadian border and throw them over the wall to a better life, because that's just not our reality, right? That's not our necessity. We don't need to do that
And
because
also, a quick segue. I'm sorry to interrupt. It's not a wall. It's a patch of grass between trees because Canada's. So let's be clear on that.
yeah.
As it was, yeah, it's literally
uh,
a bunch of trees, patch of grass, bunch of trees. You're in Canada.
um, but I just want to kind of, you know kind of have that point that it's it's critical for this whole conversation that we're having, right? This whole discourse that you're doing on Fridays.
Mhm.
It's important to see the world from somebody else's eyes, to see the world from somebody else's perspective. Yes, that might not be the choice that you make. However, you're not in their circumstances. You are not their skin color. You are not their economic status.
You have not lived.
You are not right. You don't live in their neighborhood, right? You don't experience what they experience on a day to day basis. You're not their gender. Blah blah blah. On and on and on it goes.
Yeah. I'd say
Um,
that brings us to like one quick story is I think one of my first personal instances when it comes to gun violence, right? So like I lived in the Bronx, moved to Yonkers. And when I moved to Yonkers, I was in elementary school. My brother was in middle school, and when he was in middle school, he made a friend that then became like his best friend in middle school. His name was Kayshawn Phillips, and I say his name because in the neighborhood, I felt so other and out of place. And it was ironic too, because I went from living in an apartment complex, like in the Bronx, on the fourth floor, to now living in a like in a house. Granted, it's like an apartment style house, but it's still like it's a house versus a building. You know what I mean? Like the
yeah.
aesthetic of it.
Mhm.
Um, and my mom was very protective, even when we were in the Bronx. You're not going to friends' houses. No friends are coming here. You know. So that was like how I grew up. Like nope. And then I would say, "Oh, my mom, can my friends come over?" Nope. And my brother's the same way. Hey, mom, can our friends come over? And this is back in the Bronx. We had friends who lived on the floor above us. So it's not even like leaving the building. She'd be like, nope, no one can come to the house. I'm like, okay, cool. And then Kayshawn could come to the house. As protective as my mother was, she got to know him. She's like, okay, he's good people. He'd come to the house. And I remember in elementary school, I got to the point where I was walking home. And I would used to take these back roads through this like little dump site, which is now a park, which is pretty cool. But I used to go through there, and every now and again, I got like a cut from like the thorn bushes and stuff. And I would pass Kayshawn's house, and whenever I would see him, like he would like stop me, like, "Oh, hey man, how's it going? Like, how's everything?" I'm like, "Oh, dude, what? You got some dirty issues?" Oh, I was looking to, oh, why are you? Like, he'll give me advice. He'll be there for me. He was a friend, right?
Yeah.
Now, fast forward a couple years, and one summer, I was like in sixth grade, going to seventh grade. My stepdad decided, "Your guy's not gonna stay home. I have a project where I have to like clean out this entire office building, but I'm gonna pay you guys in pizza." But nonetheless, like, you know what I mean? And then every now and again, he'll give us $20. But like, it was hard manual labor and probably broke a lot of laws, child labor wise. But we helped him out. We weren't. So we went to this office in the Bronx and cleaned it out, like from grime to clean. It was wild. And I remember one night, me and my brother decided, because I think it was like a new episode of South Park, something was happening. We were gonna watch something on TV, and we decided, yo, let's order Chinese food because we have money. So we ordered Chinese food, and we're waiting for it. We're excited for Chinese food to get here right in time so we can watch the show. And Chinese food gets there, we start eating, and right there, literally the first bite, my mom walks in the room saying, "Hey, we need toilet paper. I need you guys to go to the store and go get some." And I'm like, I'm very rebellious at that point. I'm like, "No, I'm not going. I'm eating. No, please, we just bought this food. Like, we can do it tomorrow. I'm eating. Like, please." You know what I mean? And she's like, "Hey, guys, go to the store now." My brother was very passive in that context, where I always started becoming like that teenager, because I was like going to seventh grade. I was becoming that very rebellious teenager. My brother would always be like, "I'll do it, whatever," and he'll go off and do it. And ironically, this one time, my brother's like, "No, we'll do it tomorrow. We'll do it later. Not right now. We're eating. We're watching the show later." And my mom started raising her voice. She was pissed. You know what I mean? Like, how dare you disrespect and all this stuff? Like, how dare you disrespect me? You disrespect, like, you know. And then she actually walks away. I'm like, oh. I looked at my brother. I'm like, oh my god, we stood up to her. Oh my god, it worked. You know what I mean? Like, okay, cool. We're smiling, we're laughing, watching the TV show, we're eating, and then in the middle of the summer, and then we hear starting pa pa. And we're like, that's not fireworks. My mom rushes in the room, get away from the windows. We take our food and we're like, what the fuck? And then she says, stay over there, stay in the back of the house, whatever. And we're like freaking out. I'm like thinking to myself, like, wait, because we both looked at each other, recognizing these weren't fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
It was gunshots. We're like, oh crap. Oh, this is serious. My room was a little further away, let's say the house is here, like here's the front of the house, like to the street, and then it stretches. So this is my brother's room. My room's over here, and my mom's room back here. So that night, mom